good spelling is an essential part of good journalism. And so it just so happened that in early July, a young woman won the National Spelling Bee, and she was the first African-American young woman to win the spelling bee. And there were many stories, and the first one I read was issued by the Washington Post, and I liked it. I also read the one by the New York Times, but for this one, I'm using the one that I saw in the Buffalo News that very same night that was written by an Associated Press, by a reporter whose work was published as an Associated Press story. I did notice some AP errors in here, which I'm going to point out, but I'm going to show you the beginning of the story, which I liked very much because other news outlets were reporting her as being from New Orleans. He specified where she was from, which is Harvey, Louisiana. And I very much liked his first sentence. Whether dribbling a basketball or identifying obscure Latin or Greek roots, Zayla avant-garde doesn't show much stress. I thought that was a really, really good line. His second sentence, I thought, didn't quite come in as strongly as it might have. And I'll show you later in the editing exercise my suggestion that parts of that sentence could be combined very effectively with the next sentence, which is the 14-year-old from Harvey, Louisiana, breezed to the championship on Thursday night. The only previous Black winner was also the only champ from outside the United States, Jody Ann Maxwell of Jamaica in 1998. Okay. I am going to give you the links to the Washington Post story and the New York Times story, but I want to show you how I marked this up because that's what you can expect on what you're getting back from us. Okay. So my edited version is in the Calibri font, or as we used to say, sans serif, which means it doesn't have the feet that you see in the Georgia print above. Anyhow, my note to you is that I read several stories about her winning and this was first in the Washington Post. This was one of the few that gave the champion's hometown as Harvey, Louisiana, not as New Orleans. I was impressed by that. Anyhow, he starts off saying, actually, my first markup here is actually on the cut line up here. I saw actually a few AP style errors in there. So I marked them up with bullet points. Florida should be spelled out unless it's in a date line, and you never use the postal codes in a date line. It would be FLA. But in the actual cut line itself or in the story, it should be spelled out as Florida. Disney World and Lake Buena Vista should have been together, not broken apart by day, by the date, with the date in between as it is in the cut line. Use the day of the week within, if the story occurs within 7 days of publication, or use, or you could give the date with month and day if 7 days have passed. There was no need for the year. It was such a recent story. And so once again, the lead, whether dribbling a basketball or identifying obscure Latin or Greek roots, Zayla avant-garde doesn't show much stress. Now I crossed out that entire second line and combined it, as I said above, that I was going to do with the third sentence, which would start the second paragraph. The 14-year-old from Harvey, Louisiana, breezed to a championship title on Thursday night, becoming the first African-American winner in the 96-year history of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Okay. Now, in this sentence, only, and Richard said to me, she's got only twice. Should that be changed? And I thought about changing one only to something like soul. And then I realized that sometimes if you use the same word twice, it actually adds emphasis, which is why I left it. It says she describes spelling as a side hobby, though she routinely practiced for 7 hours a day. She is a basketball prodigy who hopes to play someday in the WNBA and holds 3 Guinness World Records. Now, I have a note here. The proper title is World Records capitalized because Guinness World Records is a proper noun. So I marked that by highlighting the W and the R in blue and underlining it. Old copy editing style for when we used paper was to write 3 lines under a word that needed to be capitalized. It says she twirled and leaped with excitement after spelling the winning word Mariah, or Mura. The AP style says the camp name of genus, and it's a genus of tropical Asiatic and Australian leaves. It also painted, I think this writer paints a very good picture of how she behaved during the competition. She sounds like a delightful young woman. I also, she said this is one word that gave her trouble, nepeta, or nepeta, a genus of old world mints. And at first I thought, old world mints, like I was thinking of candy, and then I realized he was talking about mint the plant, and I actually took out the S. He's got a quote from her, and he quotes her exactly how she talks, which is a little awkward, but I mean, it's fine, it's a direct quote. But one thing I put a note in the last sentence is it's a compound sentence, and there should have been a comma in between, I know what you are and I can't get to you. Okay, and there's only one other comment I have here is that, again, he goes back to Jody Ann Maxwell of Jamaica in 1998. Normally in AP style, we don't repeat a full name again or the need for the date. But I also wanted to say that she breaks a streak dating back to 2008. That is actually the only present tense verb in the entire story article. So I changed it to broke. And I want to explain too that the reason that I am using blue instead of red is because a year ago, a student told me he was colorblind and he couldn't read red. And I said, what can you read? And he said, I can read blue. So I switched my style and I went to blue. And that's it for now.